two biggest mistakes that customers make in the beginning is A, not using the search tab enough, and not using the right click enough to navigate. Okay, those are big time savers. All right, one of the other big features that goes underutilized within Trade Ideas, the history feature. Okay, because the history feature really does help users take a lot of the guesswork out of configuring their stuff. Simply for the simple fact that, you know, once we have a window that we think is going to be advantageous to us, you know, with just a couple of mouse clicks here by removing real time, and a user may have to extend their time column a little bit out to the right. But once you do that, not only can you see the exact time of alert generation, but you can see the exact day as well. So by immediately having access to this history, anytime I put a configuration in place, I can immediately access the history, and not only will it show me every symbol that was generated by that configuration from now back until the open today, but it will go back for a full 30 trading days. All right, so what that allows the user to do is create a configuration, go back and look at everything that configuration would have produced, and then go back and look at their corresponding day charts on whatever time frame it is that they choose. And that allows them to go back and say, okay, I need to go back to 12:37 on Thursday and look at the chart and see what GG was doing at that exact time. And then that, you know, that allows them to look at the chart and say, hey, this configuration is doing exactly what I hoped it would, or I'm way off base here and I need to go back to the drawing board. All right. In the past, before we had the historical feature, you know, once we put a good idea or what we thought was a good idea together, you would have to wait until the next live market day and just see what came out of the window. That's taking, you know, your time and energy away from other trading tasks, and you're having to allocate X amount of time in a live trading day to see if this thing's any good or not. Well, now you can do that on the weekend or when the market is closed, you know, freeing up your resources for the important, you know, aspects of the actual live trading day. So I'd say the biggest feature that goes underutilized is the historical function.
Okay.
All right, so if I right click and go back into configure, we've pretty much made it through all the tabs here and what their functions are. And just to reiterate, filters, anything with purple and blue, all or none. Alerts, anything with a white background, either or. So do you have any questions about any of these tabs or the way that we use them?
No, I don't.
All right. So what we can do is just come back over here to the pop-up menu, and, you know, once again, you can see other than configure, which is where you'll be going 99% of the time, clear, all clear does. If I want to blank, if I just want to clear these out, all I have to do is hit clear. It just clears out the current window so that only fresh ones come through, and you can keep better track of them if that's what you want to do. We know where configure takes us. Collaborate, we know what that does. Historical function, we know what that does. The columns, when I refer to columns, I'm just talking about these guys here: time, symbol, number, description. And you can add and subtract columns to your liking simply by coming down here to the columns, and if you'd like to see the column, you put a check mark by it. If you don't want to see the column, just remove the check mark, and then it automatically shows up here for you.
Okay.
The directional setting is just simply a personal preference. Would you like your alerts to scroll from the bottom to the top, top to the bottom, left, right, right, left? Pretty simple stuff there. Colors as well, whatever color, you know, tickles your fancy. You know, there's not too many to choose from, but at least there's a little bit of selection on the color. Then we have view mode, and by default, we're always going to be on newest first for the view mode. And that, you know, newest first just simply means the latest alert, you know, is going to cycle down from the top. You know, it's currently 12:52, so, you know, if any come out at 12:53, you're going to see them cycle downward. Now, sometimes a window is very, very busy, Okay, so sometimes it's good to change the view mode to a different method. So let's pick something simple here. I'm going to duplicate this window. I'm going to quickly pop over here and start it from scratch. And then the only alert I'm going to put on here is a new low. So this window is going to be pretty busy. Any stock hitting a new low, it's just simply going to spit it out. Now, while I'm doing that, let me just create the, if I ever want to create the inverse, so that window is watching new lows, and say I want another window that's watching new highs, I can come down here and hit this flip button to immediately create the inverse of any strategy.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how many filters or alerts are in there. It's gonna flip everything that can be flipped. You know, obviously some things like minimum maximum price on a stock, you can't really flip those, but it'll automatically flip anything that can be flipped. Okay, so now we have two windows that are pretty busy. You know, stocks hitting new highs seem to be outweighing stocks hitting new low right now. But for example, you see how SPWRB came through 3 times in a row?
Yes.
And that's because anytime, if a stock takes a run from $10 to $10.10 and it prints each penny in between, 1001, 1002, 1003, and so on, then you're going to see it come across the ticker 10 times because each new penny is a new high. That can get a bit annoying. It can push information off the screen before you have time to see it. So how can we make this window a little bit more user-friendly as far as the way to view it? We can right-click, come down here to the view mode, and say group and sort by. I like to do mine by time a lot. So when I click this functionality, now if a symbol that has already came through, and I got my direction messed up here. Okay, so now if a symbol that's already came through the ticker repeats itself, all it's going to do is it's going to move that symbol to the top of the list, and it'll be that little white color for a brief period of time. So that way you don't have all these repeats coming through. So for example, let's say if TSL gets triggered again, this little guy right here, you're not going to see TSL come through a bunch of times. It's just going to move it to the top of the list, give you a little flash.
Okay.
And even so, you know, even modifying it, this alert's still a little too busy, simply because, you know, anytime you're just watching new highs or new lows without any filtering, you're going to get a lot of information. But the view mode, and you know, every user just has to play around with all the different view modes that we have because everybody has different preferences.
Now, what are actions?
Actions. Okay. Say, you know, for example, this window is just spitting out things left and right. But every once in a while, we'll create a window that is very, very, very specific. You know, maybe it has 20 filters and 1 alert. So those occurrences aren't happening very often. Maybe they only happen. Maybe that ticker window only spits out 1 per day, sometimes none. But when that thing does spit out 1, you sure don't want to miss it. Okay, and the way we can help users not miss those trades is by going to Actions, and you can see here Play Sound. Play Sound allows us to attach a sound to an alert window, so that every time a symbol is triggered, you hear a specific sound. And if we hit Select Sound here, you can see we have all these pre-configured windows, or actually folders here, that have all these goofy little sounds in there for people to choose from. Okay, so when we attach a sound, say just one at random, I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but every time that window would spawn a symbol, you're going to hear that sound. So the word of caution is you probably don't want to attach it to a busy window because it'll drive you crazy.
Yeah.
But for a window that only spits out 1, 2, 3 symbols a day, you know, you may be trading, you may be looking at different windows, and when you hear that sound, you're not going to miss that alert because you're bringing your ears into the picture.
Okay.
And anytime we can bring another sense into the equation, why not?